Hey guys, today I'll show you a horror thriller film named The Sin. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with Shai, a professional dancer, receiving an invitation from a director to shoot a film at an abandoned school. She initially believed she was the sole lead actress until she encountered Kay, a junior dancer from her former troupe. What surprised Shai even more was that the choreography for her scene was actually created by Kay. The dance movements were exaggerated, 7 parts eerie, 3 parts wild. However, since the director had chosen them, Shai didn't question it. Instead, she focused on practicing and performing simultaneously. Kay's solo dance was filmed on the rooftop, followed by a duet sequence. According to the script, Kay's dance exuded a mysterious power, disturbing Shai's mental state to the point of complete loss of control. In the final moment, Shai stepped onto the edge of the rooftop and, without hesitation, jumped off. Fortunately, the crew had already set up a dummy for the stunt. After the scene was shot, Shai felt nauseous and threw up on the spot. Inside the building, the ventilation fans malfunctioned, raising concerns that background noise might interfere with filming. The props team leader went to the electrical room to shut off the power. The atmosphere there was eerie. Candles were arranged on the floor, and strange symbols on the walls sent chills down her spine all the way to her smelly butt. At this point, she was unaware of the true danger lurking ahead. Meanwhile, the crew on the rooftop noticed something alarming. A bizarre symbol painted in red on the adjacent rooftop, identical to the one in the electrical room. More disturbingly, they discovered that none of their phones had any signal. This meant the abandoned school was now completely cut off from the outside world. In a dimly lit hallway, the assistant director heard noises and went to check. It was the props team leader. She was drenched in sweat, trembling violently, and looked utterly unwell. The assistant director reached out to support her, only to be met with a horrifying response. The team leader suddenly stabbed him in the chicken throat, then repeatedly slashed him until he collapsed, dead like a piece of shit. It seemed the strange symbols on the walls had possessed her. Covered in blood, she staggered toward the rooftop. When the others asked what had happened, she remained unresponsive, as if entranced. Without warning, she stepped off the edge and plummeted to her death. This time, it wasn't an act. It was real. The supposedly dead assistant director suddenly snapped open his bloodshot eyes. At the same time, the sound of cracking bones echoed as the severely injured team leader also came back to life. Her twisted body contorted into an unnatural stance before she lunged at a crew member, biting into him viciously. After finishing him off, her disfigured face turned toward the remaining people on the rooftop, her next prey. With no phone signal and no way to call for help, chaos erupted. The director grabbed his backpack and fled. Some followed, while others sought refuge on the rooftop. Shai and Kay decided to escape with the others via the stairwell. Along the way, the director even picked up his handheld camera, filming as they ran, instructing them to act natural. But who could possibly stay calm in such terror? Kay suddenly noticed something chilling. The surveillance cameras on the walls were still running. That raised a disturbing question. How was the monitoring system still operational in a school that had been abandoned for years? Before they could find an answer, another disaster struck. The crazed, zombie-like assistant director reappeared. 3 strong male crew members held the iron gate at the staircase shut, blocking her path. Fortunately, the zombie only knew how to slam into the door. It couldn't figure out how to open it. Just as everyone sighed in relief, a blood-curdling scream echoed from the rooftop. It had already been overrun. Escaping through the building wasn't any easier. They finally managed to clear a path, only to find the hallways packed with overturned cabinets blocking their way. Time was running out. They had no choice but to climb over the furniture and keep moving. As they did, the director, bringing up the rear, heard something behind him. When he turned around, it was already too late. The assistant director turned monster had caught up. The director let out one final scream before being dragged away. In the end, only 4 people managed to reach the school gate. Shai, Kay, a horse-faced man, and a chubby crew member. But the gate was locked. Blood-soaked animal corpses hung from it, seemingly part of some kind of ritual. Growing impatient, the chubby man attempted to climb over. Unfortunately, he didn't notice the 2 zombie guards tied nearby. Before he could react, one of them bit him. Fearing that he would turn into one of them, the horse-faced man picked up an iron rod and beat him to death on the spot. Without hesitation, the horse-faced man sprinted toward the parking lot with Shai close behind. Kay, who had twisted her ankle, fell behind, but neither Shai nor the horse-faced man stopped to help her. The 2 quickly climbed into a car, and as zombies swarmed the vehicle, the horse-faced man started the engine just in time to break free. However, just when they thought they had escaped, a masked figure with a gun appeared out of nowhere. A gunshot rang out. The horse-faced man was hit. Losing control of the car, he crashed into a tree. When Shar regained consciousness, she found the horse-faced man barely clinging to life. He pleaded with her to save him, but in the face of such horror, she knew survival was all she could hope for. Shuri abandoned the horse-faced man and hid in a nearby warehouse. Meanwhile, trapped inside the vehicle, the horse-faced man was ruthlessly torn apart by the bloodthirsty horde of zombies. Only after they had left did Shar dare to take a deep breath. Suddenly, the director appeared out of nowhere, startling her. Her instincts told her that he knew something. After pressing him for answers, the director finally admitted the truth. Shur's dance was not just an ordinary performance. It was actually a ritualistic spirit-summoning dance, capable of calling back the dead. Months ago, a wealthy woman approached the director, offering a hefty sum to fund his film project. All he had to do was use the shoot as an excuse to lure Shur to this abandoned school. At first, the director hesitated, unwilling to compromise his principles, but the amount of money she offered was simply too tempting. Additionally, his own curiosity about the supernatural got the better of him, and he wanted to see if the ritual really worked. In the end, he agreed. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect things to spiral so far out of control. But now, with the situation beyond repair, he had no choice but to go through with it. Otherwise, he would be left with nothing. The director assured Shur that they only needed 1 more hour of filming, and then he would be able to complete his mission and receive his payment. However, fate had other plans. Just as the director opened the warehouse door to leave, a gunshot rang out. He was shot in the head on the spot. The shooter was a police officer. It turned out the warehouse was being used to store illegal drugs, and the police had been drawn to the scene after hearing the gunfire. While the police chief was still trying to determine whether Shur was involved, a junior officer discovered the horse-faced man's body inside the car. He had turned into a zombie, his flesh mangled beyond recognition. Seizing the distraction, Shai bolted, but the police chief reacted quickly, firing several shots at her. Strangely, not a single bullet hit its mark. He ordered the junior officer to capture her immediately. Before long, Shur was tackled to the ground. She desperately warned them that this place was extremely dangerous, that the dead would come back to life. The junior officer, however, dismissed her claims, even lighting a cigarette in amusement. Just as he reported the situation to his superior via radio, a masked man suddenly appeared behind him. Without warning, he struck the officer down with his rifle. However, he didn't finish the job, leaving the officer wounded but alive, a mistake that would soon prove costly. The injured officer managed to fire his gun, hitting the masked man. Though the masked man delivered a finishing shot to his enemy, he himself had suffered fatal injuries and died. Meanwhile, the police chief found himself surrounded by a group of masked figures, each armed and wearing white cloth masks stained with red markings over the eyes. Everything about them screamed cult. It became clear that they were the ones who had been monitoring the abandoned school and drawing strange symbols. Realizing they were hopelessly outmatched, the police surrendered. Amid the chaos, Shur was startled by the sudden reappearance of Kay. The two decided to escape together. However, exhaustion, combined with the traumatic events of the day, pushed Shuri to her breaking point. She collapsed in tears. Just then, Kay spotted something promising, a distant gas station with its lights still on. As Shuri stared at her own reflection, she noticed something odd. Her nose had started bleeding. Memories of her past resurfaced. Shu and her mother had been in a horrific car accident. Her mother died on the spot, while Shur miraculously survived. However, the accident left her with partial memory loss. The recent series of shocks had triggered more of her forgotten past. She recalled how her mother used to say she wanted to protect her, but at the same time, she also spoke of wanting to kill her. Over time, the mental torment drove her mother insane, ultimately landing her in a psychiatric hospital. Shuri could never understand why her mother wanted to kill her. One night, her mother suddenly appeared before her, claiming she had completed her treatment. She took Shai and drove off together. In reality, the car accident had been intentional. Her mother had planned it all along. Kay's voice snapped Shai out of her memories. She handed her a bottle of water, and without thinking, she drank it. As they talked, Shur apologized for abandoning her earlier. However, before she could say much more, a wave of dizziness hit her, and she blacked out. It turns out the water had been drugged. When Shuri woke up, she found herself bound inside a grand hall. Surrounding her were a group of masked individuals, all heavily armed. Panic set in as she begged for her shitty life. However, their leader showed no hesitation. The leader aimed directly at her heart and pulled the trigger. To everyone's shock, mere seconds after being shot, Shi came back to life. This revelation only strengthened the leader's belief. Shi was the immortal demon they had been searching for. Finally, the leader removed her mask, revealing her true identity. It was none other than the wealthy woman who had hired the director. The scene flashes back to 9 years ago when in high school, Shi had a crush on the wealthy woman's nephew, June. She mustered the courage to confess her feelings through a love letter, but he rejected her outright. June was in love with another girl from the dance class. Humiliated, Shi returned home in tears, crying in front of her mother, but she wasn't willing to accept defeat. That same night, she transformed herself to look exactly like the other girl, successfully tricking June into kissing her. However, the moment he realized the truth, he shoved her away in disgust. With all hope lost, a dark thought took root in Shi's heart. If she couldn't have him, then no one could. Shi chanted an incantation, controlling June and forcing him to walk into the middle of the road, where he was struck and killed by a speeding car. Overcome with grief, the girl soon jumped into the river, ending her life as well. However, after their deaths, Shi revealed a triumphant smile in her mother's arms. It was at this moment that her mother realized her daughter's true darkness. At the funeral, the wealthy woman's younger sister, unable to cope with the loss of her beloved son, chose to jump from a building. Losing 2 family members back to back, the wealthy woman was consumed by grief and rage. She tracked down the driver responsible for the accident and executed him on the spot. Just when she thought everything was over, Kay suddenly approached her and revealed the shocking truth behind June's death. As the wealthy woman dug deeper into Shi's past, she uncovered an alarming pattern. Wherever Shi went, people mysteriously died. Since childhood, she had constantly transferred schools, with those around her calling her a witch, the spawn of Satan. Kay, however, revealed her true identity. She was, in fact, a witch. She explained to the wealthy woman that normal physical means were useless against a witch like Shi. The only way to completely destroy her was to summon the dead. Determined to put an end to Shi, Kay and the wealthy woman set a trap. They lured Shi to an abandoned, isolated school where they could operate without interference. Even the film crew present were handpicked by the wealthy woman. All of them had criminal records and were far from decent people. Upon learning the truth, Shi tried to fight back, but she soon began to bleed from all 7 orifices. The cause was revealed. Kay was on the rooftop, dressed in full witch attire, performing a ritual to suppress Shi's powers. Unable to escape, Shi desperately begged the wealthy woman for mercy, but she refused to listen. She and her men left the scene, leaving Shi to be swarmed by a horde of corpses. The zombies devoured her mercilessly, tearing her apart limb by limb. On the rooftop, the wealthy woman thanked Kay for helping her exact revenge. However, she couldn't understand why Kay had gone to such lengths to assist her. Kay simply told her that since she had committed murder, she must now face the consequences. Moments later, as Kay descended the stairs, a gunshot echoed from the rooftop. Following Kay's words, the wealthy woman had taken her own life. Kay then drove to Shi's house. However, when she stood in front of the mirror, something terrifying happened. The reflection staring back at her was not her own, but Shi's. This was the film's biggest twist. Shi, who was supposedly killed by the zombies, was actually still alive, while the real victim was Kay. Flashback to that night at the gas station. After drugging Shi, Kay called the wealthy woman and instructed her to send people to capture Shi. However, Shi had already regained consciousness by then. In that instant, she realized everything had been a carefully orchestrated trap against her. Kay grabbed a fire extinguisher and tried to attack Shi, but Shi effortlessly blocked the attack. Desperate, Kay then swung a wrench at Shi's head, but once again, she failed. The wrench turned red-hot in Shi's grasp, forcing Kay to retreat. In the end, Shi knocked Kay unconscious with a shovel. Then, using her magic, Shi performed a ritual to swap their appearances. That night on the rooftop, it wasn't the real Kay conducting the ritual. It was actually Shi in disguise, manipulating everyone into believing she was the witch, while forcing Kay to take her place as the sacrifice. In the final scene, Kay's mother, the head witch, personally scattered her daughter's ashes into the river. She and the witch coven knew they could no longer sit idly by. For the sake of her daughter and all the innocent lives lost, they vowed to wage war against the witch once and for all. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.